Welcome friends to another 40k video. Today we look at the death corpse of Krieg and ask, what are they? Are there mutants beneath those helmets? Clones of the same person? We'll pick up some general info, but the main evidence I'm presenting will be from the novel Krieg by Steve Lyons. So who are the Krieg and where are they from? Krieg, of course, that world in the past rebelled against the Emperor and declared the planet independent. One hive under Jurten opposed this. On a special day of the Emperor's ascension, the leader Jurten of Hive Ferrograd unleashed Dark Age weapons of atomic power that purged those who opposed the Emperor. This worked somewhat, but damaged the planet whose ecosystem was exposed to a nuclear winter, and even then the fighting carried on as the Loyalists for over 500 years took back their planet. It's after this the Death Corps emerge in the wider Imperium and offer its services to the Emperor as a way of redeeming themselves. The planet after the nuke is described like this. Its pockmarked surface was dusted grey with ash. It was littered with barbed wire coils, spent casings, and the corroded carcasses of once proud tanks and weapons platforms, the detritus of centuries of strife. The ash also swirled around dry bones, stripped of their clothing, left to rot where they had fallen. The sky was as grey as the land. The skeletons of high cities jutted from every horizon, ashes drifting round their crumpled spires. The only sources of water were black and frozen solid. Krieg was held in the pitiless grip of a winter that had lasted half a millennium and showed no sign of abating. A nuclear winter. In terms of the novels, we get some broad hints at where the Krieg are from, and for information, the book switches between the past and the present. So from the past, telling the rise of the Krieg's leader, and the story set in the present, where the Astra Militarum, including forces from Cadia, fight alongside the Krieg. The Cadians try to speak with and make observations about the Krieg. When one of their masked allies falls, the weapons and other details are taken from that person, from the corpse, but the body is left. When one of the Cadians tries to interact with them, the responses are short and to the point, and they say little more than they have to. There is also a uniformity to how they fight and operate. Most of them can be explained by military discipline, but we see also, despite them contributing to so much to the Imperium's war effort and taking many losses, their population continues to rise. Where are those extra numbers coming from? At one point in the present, an Inquisitor questions the Krieg soldiers, and we'll go over that now. He made another attempt. Krieg is, I believe, the term for it. It is radioactive. Merely to step upon its surface unshielded is to sicken, and in short order to suffer an agonizing death. The skin comes from your bones, your organs liquefy. We do not walk the surface unshielded. No, you have your suits and your masks, though even these I hear were not sufficient to protect Inquisitor Loreth. He thought the corpsman recognized the name, though he had only their slightest head movements to go by. Still, you must remove the masks. Sometimes, he ventured. The corpsman neither confirmed nor denied the suggestion. Your children cannot be born masked, Ferrum persisted, and you must have mothers, fathers' families. Our families, said the corpsman, are protected. Sheltered by the bunkers, said another, that Colonel Jurten dug for us. At the behest of his most wise and loyal adviser, the Archmagos Griel. I see, said Ferrin thoughtfully. And yet even Lareth, with the finest protective equipment and drugs available to her, sickened. After her visit to your world, she reported stomach cramps and fever dreams, which bedeviled her until her dying day. She was not Krieg, said a corpsman. It is natural, I suppose, that your opposite would have built up a level of tolerance. We suffer not the mutant to live, and yet your population continues to grow. And now we look to a conversation between Archmagos Griel and some of the soldiers from back when Krieg was under the nuclear winter. We spoke only hours before his passing. Talking about Jurten here, the leader I mentioned earlier. He was concerned, as was I, about the future. The purging had taken its toll on us too. Our population had remained static almost ever since. New births have barely kept pace with the growing number of mutations and deaths. At this rate, I project that within. We're all aware of the problem, the captain grumbled. Then you understand why the colonel approved this procedure. With due respect, Archmagos, another captain ventured, how can we be sure of that? Or even the colonel's mind was, he trailed off uncomfortably. We all knew and respected him. We know that he took no decision lightly. He was also determined that our suffering, our toils, must count for something. What is the point, he'd ask me, in rebuilding shattered industries, manufacturing arms and equipment, if there might come a time when no one remained to wield them? Our children, he always said, are our most precious resource. That statement elicited murmurs of cautious agreement. The Vitae Womb, said Creel, will make our children stronger, strong enough to reclaim our world for the Emperor, in time to return to the stars. He swept the table with his cold, augmetic glare, and Colonel Girton gave it his approval. With almost his final breath, he chose to take that upon his conscience, so that no one else would have to. And the last thing he said to me, before his eyes closed, and I left his bedside for the final time, was that this would be his final compromise. And for context, one of the compromises that Yerton made was to open his mind to having augmetics in his body so that he could continue to perform his duty. So before we conclude, let's take a look at what the Vitae Womb might be by examining what was just said. It was given by a Mars Magos. So the first part, new births have barely kept pace with the growing numbers of mutations and deaths. So what's this womb? We'll be trying to fix mutations and deaths, and for healthy children to be born. It's dubbed a procedure, and I guess it must be to those who give birth in Krieg, the women. And next part, our children, he always said, are our most precious resource. So not saying that the children in the future, but dubbing them a resource for war. And finally it said, it will make our children stronger. Now I don't know if this means better than human or just stronger than they have been. I could go either way on that, so it seems they have some unnatural resistance to the radiation. Now let's look at things from here. So I propose, based on the evidence in this novel, that the Dark Age weapons are something the Magus came up with, lets the women of Krieg give birth to children who are genetically stronger, perhaps more resistant than normal to the effects of the nuclear winter on Krieg. Now let's move into the end game here. Let's look at two bigger questions with the Krieg. Are they clones? No, but I think there may be similarities with how they look and act due to them all coming from the same Vitae Wound, which is either its own standing device or, as I mentioned, as part of the procedure has been fitted into the women of Krieg, some of them. Like brothers, I think they'll look like. So not clones, but related, and so similar features perhaps, and that's why they have the masks. I think they might still need these a bit for some conditions that might hurt them, but overall I think the masks are to hide their similarities and their origins, and to add perhaps a sense of mystery to them, so that if you knock one down, another one appears. The Mechanicum might not look favourably on this use of technology, especially it came from the Dark Age, so that kind of explains that part. The military training, or perhaps some programming from the Vitae Wound, might be used to answer why they're all very practiced and similar. They're taught a certain set of skills as a standard for the armies or programmed into them, and this is also why they show little care for their fallen, because there are always more, and they collect the weapons, etc., to be reused. So that's my conclusion. What's yours? Let me know your opinion, comment down below. Are there any intriguing little bits of evidence outside of this book that would have helped this discussion? Let me know.